Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for day 2 of the virtual Alumni Conference. I see that a few people have started typing in the chat window. If you don't mind, if you haven't done so already, please type in your name and also your TCLP year in the chat window. And with that, we can go ahead and get started. Today, Zara will be doing some brief opening remarks.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to see so many familiar faces on the chat window. And I'm really excited that we have this opportunity at least once a year to reconnect with the big TCLP family. Thank you for coming to this conference, and we are happy to have you joining today. Excellent presenters. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's presentations from another two excellent presenters. As you know, we are trying to dedicate this conference to establishing sister school relations between host schools and home schools in your countries. But what I would like to also say as part of this conference, keep in mind that it doesn't need to be sister school relations between US and China or US and Egypt, US, Morocco. It can be China, Egypt, Morocco, between the three countries, between your three countries. Right now we have one of our alumni that is in China. This type of basically cross-country, cross-cultural communication is what is important about the TCLP family. I would also like to take a moment to thank our founder, State Department, for generous funding, because this program exists because of the funds dedicated to the increasing of critical languages teaching in the US and helping China, Egypt, and Morocco to increase the capacity of teaching English in your home countries. Once again, thank you for coming to this conference, and we look forward to excellent presentations today. Thank you.
Thank you, Zara. So with that, I think we can go ahead and jump right in. So today we'll be hearing from two more alumni. First, Gojin, and then Abdullah Al-Alawi. They were both TCLP participants last year in 2018-19. So to start, Guojin is originally from Sichuan, China. She received her master's degree in English studies from the City University of Hong Kong. She's been an English teacher since 2012, and since 2015, she's taught international students Chinese in addition to teaching English. She enjoys traveling, dancing, and sports, and her main goal in participating in TCLP was to learn more about different teaching methodologies. During the 18-19 year, she was hosted by Suter Montessori in Chicago, Illinois, where she also received a CLP grant to establish a sister school relationship with her home school. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and pass the mic over to you, Gojin. And would you like to turn on your camera?
Okay, hold on.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's so great to hear from you. And let's see, I can also give you the mouse control. Are you able to click through the presentation?
Try. No.
No? Okay. Then that's okay. I can click for you. Okay.
Shall I start?
Yes, please, go ahead.
And Gujin, if you want us to, whenever you need us to click, just let us know so that we can click it on this side, okay?
Okay. So I started this idea when I arrived suitor because our school has the history of holding some international students. So I just had this an idea, but I got support from my mentor. She told me, yes, we can try that. And after that, getting the CLP grant is, I think it's a huge promotion for me to push this program. So that's how we started. We started this whole program after I got the CLP fund that is 2019 February. Then the tutor, the principal, helped me. He planned to have the weekly meeting to plan the whole stuff. Actually, during this process, I'm just be kind of bridge to communicate with both school. So I think actually how they did and how they handle all the administration stuff. I'm not quite sure about that, but I just help to plan all the activities.
Great.
So this is the day we were ready to departure to China, and after nearly 2 months planning and preparing, that's a day we are going, and we had a group photos. And the picture on the left, we can see the parents came to help us. So this is this one. Those pictures, these pictures shows my home school welcomed Suda teachers, and we have a very official meeting about the sister school relationship building, like sign, and both sides hope we can continue this program. So yeah. Those pictures show the Suda kids' school life in my home school, and they enjoyed the school life a lot because we have bigger campus, and the kids from both sides are very eager to communicate with each other. And the Suda kids told me they feel like they were superstars, because everywhere they go, the Chinese kids will come to ask their the phone number, and they hope they can contact with each other later. And the student kids do enjoy the meal in our school, and they feel they also feel the class in China. I mean, they feel they have some similarities and also have some differences. So this is their school life in my school. And this part shows their the culture activities, and I took them to the countryside to try the tea leaves picking, and after that they can use those tea leaves to make teas by themselves. And since I am in Sichuan, so the panda room is a master place they go. The kids told me that's one of the most exciting part for this whole journey. They just get so crazy when they saw the real panda. So those pictures shows how the host families treat those international kids. And the kids just told me, the student kids, the American kids told me, the host families, they're so friendly every day. Every day the host families just kind of like the meals competition. They show the pictures, say, today I took the kids to try this one, try that one, try this one. And they just, every day, the student kids just kind of comparing with each other, say, I tried this, I tried that, my mom took me, try this. So I think the kids at the very beginning, they kind of had homesick, but with the warm welcome from the host families, they kind of like the new home. And so their buddies will bring their classmates come to their home to have some activities like play cards and play the Chinese chess. And the boys and the parents took them to play ping pong, to play basketball. So they just enjoyed their life. And so after the 1 week is very short. So when we came back, because the kids had very positive experience, so I think they had positive impact for the whole community, especially our school. When they came back, everyone came to ask their feelings. I think even at the very beginning, they have a little bit conflict because of the miscommunication or the cultural difference. But when they came back, only great memories left. So when the people came to ask, they always say, "Oh, that's so wonderful." And even the kids, when they came to class with me, and they will say, they call me Miss Ada. Miss Ada, I really like this journey. I hope I can come back someday. And that is so wonderful. So from that moment, I feel this trip may change their life. So this is our school is calling for the whole school to host the Chinese kids for the coming October. This is October, according to the the cooperation agreements, and I took October 20. And at the end of December, me and with 2 other teachers, we took 7 or 8 kids from China visit Suda. So this is how all the host families came to the airport to pick us up. You cannot see the time, but actually that is midnight. It's midnight. It's nearly 12 a.m. On the right side, that's the first day our Chinese kids to meet the whole school during the morning assembly. Those pictures shows how the U.S. host families took the Chinese kids to enjoy their life. On the left side is our kids experienced the U.S. Class, and on the top of the left side is our kids kind of be the little helper with the next TCLP teachers to teach the kids Mandarin Chinese, and they just had they had fun with all when they were together. This is the last day we were in Chicago, and all the family and all the kids came to the airport. That moment is really hard for all of us. I saw a lot of tears and crying, and the kids just say, I don't care about the president. Right now, we just have overseas families, and you are my family. And I was moved a lot. Even the parents, the teachers, we were moved. We were moved a lot.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Guojin, for that excellent presentation. Should we take a few questions now? I didn't see any in the chat window. Oh, Zara, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I wanted to ask a couple of questions, Gujin.
Yes.
I know because we were, let me just move over here. Because we talked with you so much after you had the students go to China, I would request that you tell us a little bit how did you prepare these students for the trip to go to China? Because I know that you did excellent steps in order to prepare them for their trip to China. If you don't mind talking a little bit about that. And also how you were working with your homeschool to prepare them to accept the students. If you don't mind talking a little bit how you worked on the agenda and stuff like that.
So for the agenda, I asked the American kids, like ask the kids, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do most if you can come to China? Then I will kind of like survey, and I will, after that, I will plan the agenda according to the interest. And of course, I will have to discuss with our home school to see whether those activities we can do it or not. And once I had those agenda, then every week, I will have a meeting with those kids. And the principal helped me a lot. They give their kids some topics about China and ask them to do research, kind of like prepare themselves before they go. And then they will ask me some questions. I kind of use the idea from TCLP, like give them some, scenarios to discuss, to say, what you will do if you meet this situation, and what you will do if you meet that difficulties. So I think that helps. And for our school, I did the same thing, like prepare them some difficulties and let them to think and to prepare themselves. Then I will have the meeting with the parents and to answer their questions, or if they have any concerns, they can ask me questions. So that's how I prepared for the trip.
Gujin, did you do the same thing when you were bringing your Chinese students to the US? Was there?
Yes, I did the same thing. Okay. I did the same thing with the Chinese kids.
Mm-hmm. And again, having meetings with the parents to answer their questions.
Yes, basically I think the host families, they were okay. So a lot of questions from the parents whose kids will come to travel.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I can see already the same type of question. What did you do to prepare the Sudan kids or even teachers for the cultural shock? Could you talk a little bit about that? Because you mentioned that they had cultural shock and miscommunications were there, but what did you do to prepare them? And what would you do differently?
I think I had some experience of I had some experience of holding some international kids, so I kind of know what kind of problems they will meet. So I will give them kind of like scenario discussion. I think they basically will meet like the food and how to communicate if they cannot speak that language. And how can you do if you have homesick? So that's what I did. I know no matter how prepared the kids, they still will meet a lot of problems. But just tell them, be brave, and tell us if any time you don't feel comfortable or you have homesick. Just be patient.
Yep, that makes sense. And the same thing is with the adults, right?
Yes.
Be brave and be patient.
Yeah. Just tell them, don't feel, how to say, don't feel, how to say, don't feel. So just take this side, like people in another country, they were friendly. If they did something you don't feel comfortable, probably because just because they don't know you, or they just or they want to know you. So yeah, just smile. And come to me or come to the adults, just talk. Oh yeah, the one more thing I think is very important when I have this take the kid up, when I plan the agenda, I put like the debrief time with the kids every day. I think that is very important, because every day they will encounter different difficulties which you cannot anticipate. So have like 1 hour or half an hour deep brief time is very important.
That's a great suggestion.
So I see another question in the chat window asking about how you chose the groups of Chinese and American students to participate. Did you have any sort of criteria that you were looking for?
I don't know how the suitor, I mean the principal choose the kids from suitor, but from our school, basically we choose the top kids. Like they have to be really good. They need to how to say, the academic level is very good, and they can listening to teachers, and they are, one more thing, they have to be very active. I mean, kind of how to say, they are willing to talk with others. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing. So at this point, I think we'll move on to the second presentation. And then again, please feel free to type any questions you have in the chat window as we go along. And we can continue with questions and answers at the end. So let's see. I'll go ahead and... Hi, Abdullah.
Hello. Do you
Hi.
hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Good to see you all.
You as well. So I'll just do a quick introduction, and then you can go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
Abdullah is originally from Zagora, Morocco. He received his bachelor's in linguistics from Ibn Zohar University. He's also received several other degrees in filmmaking, photography, and teaching. He's been a teacher since 2004 and is the head of 2 active school clubs. Additionally, he's the founder of the educational project J'ai Partage, as well as the winner of several National Film Festival awards in Morocco. His primary objectives for participating in TCLP were learning more about American teaching methodologies, society, culture, and also best teaching practices. He was hosted by Thomas Edison Language Institute in Sacramento, California. All right, so I'll try. Are you able to control the mouse?
Let me check.
Awesome, great. Go ahead and get started when you're ready.
All right, so hello everyone, and thank you, Ms. Zoe, for your wonderful introduction. I'm really thrilled to come today to share with you my experience on how we have been able to connect our school with my host school in Sacramento, in California. Where I'm going also to share with you some ideas on how you can establish a partnership with your host school. And briefly, I'm going to talk why is it important to give your students the opportunity to communicate with other students from other cultures. We all know that in today's changing world, that schools should seek alternatives to remain a pleasant place for enjoyable learning. So we should help our students first understand the big issues that shape our work and equip them with the knowledge and the skills and attitudes they need to make a positive contribution. So as you can see here, we have our, so before I came actually to the US, I knew it's really important to learn and benefit from my American partners' experiences, especially things related to teaching methodologies and leadership and management, how they manage their schools and their schools policy and so on and so forth. But most importantly, I know that it is really important for our students to communicate in English, and it's important for my host school students to know more about other cultures. So with my school staff, in Morocco, we set a list of some objectives on how, on what are the things we want to achieve. And when I joined my host school, I sent an email with the guidance of my mentor teacher to my school principal and to the Parents Association, PTA. And I explained to them the objectives and how this partnership can benefit our students and our schools. And after a few days, actually, I received a positive reply from the school, my school principal, and from the Parents Association. And they told me that it's really important, and they asked me to draw up like an action plan and how we can speed up the process and to make this project successful. Then we sent some emails to other teachers at school, and we asked them to sign up if they are interested to share their teaching methodologies with other teachers in my country, in Morocco, and if they want to learn from the other Moroccan teachers. And they show a great enthusiasm. And then we draw up again an action plan, and then we started to, we have a plan with dates and time for the online video conferences, and then we started our projects. So as you can see here on this slide, so some of our top objectives, like for example, understand intercultural issues and develop leadership skills to contribute to the world's challenges. And as I said, our top objective is to improve the language proficiency, students' proficiency, language proficiency, and learn about other cultures. And via this, we want to encourage mutual understanding through dialogue and cross-cultural communication. This is a souvenir from my school from my host school to my school in Morocco. So before you partner with the school, you will want to know and to be clear about what sort of partner or partner school you want are you looking for and why? Because it is crucial to making the most of your partnership. So before you start your search, it's worth taking some time to get really clear about what are you looking for and why. So for example, sorry, I had to go back. Right. I'm stuck. Just a minute.
Oh, and Akadila, could you maybe speak just a little bit louder, please?
You don't hear me? Oh, sorry. So I said before you find a partner or partner school, you need to have some clear objectives, and you have to know what you want to achieve, for example, by this partnership. So here are some of the things, my advice based on my experience. These are some of the things to consider when you want to establish a partnership with a school, with your host school. So you should consider the objectives. So what do you want to get out of a school partnership? And then you have to decide about the type of partner school that you want. Is it the same? For example, my school in Morocco and my host school, they have approximately the same number of students, and they are diverse. They have different students from different backgrounds and cultures. And for example, you have to think of what kinds of activities and projects that you are going to work on with your with that school, with your sister school, and think of the resources. This is very important. And then, for example, what you're gonna do, for example, in the future. So me and our school and my host and the other school in the US, we are planning to exchange visits in the future, and we are planning to work on having some online workshops for teachers and for students, and of course online conferences for students. So we usually, as you know, today is the era of the modern technologies. So there are a lot of applications and a lot of media form or ICT forms that you can benefit from. So maybe in China there is WeChat, Facebook also, WhatsApp, for example, Skype, but mostly we usually connect using Google Hangouts. So it proves to be very effective to connect students. So these are some of our achievements after this partnership. So we've been able to connect with 8 schools in Morocco. So while I was there in Sacramento in California, so we've been able to cover, north of Morocco, the middle of Morocco, and the south of Morocco. So there are about 8 schools that we include in this project. And of course, this helps our students, to be much more highly motivated to learn more about English and to learn more about American culture. And of course, it raised the school profile and reputation. So everyone in the region, for example, here is now talking about our school. And then there are some other things that we achieved. For example, our students have, some of them, most of them, sorry, have confidence to communicate in English. They tend to be collaborative and think globally, and they develop skills for problem solving and so on and so forth. And for the future, so as I said, we're going to work on visits exchange for students and teachers. This is a little bit hard, because it's a little bit complex, but we will try to overcome all the obstacles to make this true. And of course, we want to hold some online training workshops for teachers and for the school staff to share their best practices. And we want to develop an action plan for the future progress. And we will establish new partnerships and include more new schools in Morocco and in the US. As you can see here on your right hand, this is an email that I received only 2 months ago if I still remember, and it was from a new school in Sacramento. It is called Cameron Range Elementary School. So, and it's about how we can establish a partnership, you know, with them and give students the opportunity to communicate and share cultures. So these are some of our, I choose only two testimonies. So this is one of our students has to say about the project. So she said that this project helps me understand issues beyond my immediate surroundings and makes me confident and highly motivated to learn English. And it opens my eyes to new different words. And this is my school principal. So he said, I of course translated these things into English. So we are proud that through this partnership, we are giving our students and the school staff the opportunity to develop the knowledge and the skills and values they will need to shape the future for themselves and for generations to come. And I invite you all to watch this 2 minutes video. Ms. Zoe, do you think you can click on the video? I think it's on, you have the link?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So it's in the comment.
Yeah. 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Get
Is it the presentation?
Yeah, how do we get out of the full view?
Just no, do a new share with sound. Share from here.
But California is experiencing a very dry season, so that's affecting our water. My holiday was good. My family was sick, but other than that, it was nice to be off grading papers. What did you guys do?
A lot of them really liked it, and a lot of the high schoolers who went to Morocco and lived there came back, and they were very mature, you know, because they had met a lot of different kinds of people, and they knew things about different countries and different religions and politics. So you grow a lot.
That's a $20 bill. This is a $5 bill.
Oh, that's a $20? That's the king of the
What did I learn in Morocco? I learned a lot of stuff because Morocco is not considered a Western country, so they have a very different mentality, they have a different religion. So I learned a lot about Islam, the religion of Islam, and the culture, basically, the food. It's just very, very different from the United States in many, many ways. But I think in the last 10 years, when the internet's become really popular, I think the younger generations are becoming more and more westernized, actually. But basically, I think the things that I learned most about was...
Hi, my name is Jim Freeman. I'm one of the vice principals here at Thomas Edison Language Institute. And I just want to acknowledge all the hard work and efforts that went into this project, especially by Abdel. And this project will signify a symbol for our school for many years to come. It's very visible for our students and families that come on campus. And I've already seen numerous people come up and take a look at it, and we greatly appreciate his efforts to pull this project together. It really was a lot of work. Thank you very much, Abdel.
And we're back. Great. Thank you for sharing that video with us.
You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So,
one moment.
Someone has a question here. So what kind of obstacles stood in the way of teachers and students exchange, right? So one of the things is the visa process, you know.
Can you speak up a little bit, Abdelila? Sorry, your voice again trailed off.
I caught a cold and I think the mic again on my microphone. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, better, yeah.
Yeah, so as I said, one of the obstacles are things related to visa. So for students, for example, in Morocco to apply for the US visa, it's really hard, you know. So that needs a lot of efforts. The process is not so easy. That's one of the greatest obstacles. Especially that I'm living here in the south in Morocco, so students, they have to like travel to Rabat, and to apply for that, they need a lot of documents. They need a lot of agreements from not only parents, but from officials and so on and so forth. But we will try to work on that for the future.
Wait, I think we're having a problem with the audio. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Daily, you know, it's late, so it's time for students to come. Okay, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation and for sharing the video. Zara, did you have a question?
Yeah, Abdelila, you mentioned that you received another message from one of the US schools asking for partnership. And this is an elementary school. So when you have such type of request, are you connecting that elementary school with an elementary school, or how do you work that part?
Actually, we are going to connect the elementary school with another elementary school because of the age. And this elementary school students, they started learning English from early ages, so they are able to communicate. But once we have some, for example, middle schools in Morocco, in which English is not introduced from the early years, so we just, you know, give the students the opportunity to practice their English and share the cultures. So this school, I'm working with another school here in Lyon City, and to make it possible. So I think we are going to have our first online meeting this month, inshallah.
Wonderful. And one request. Do you mind asking that elementary school from the US to also apply for a TCLP teacher, Arabic teacher? Because
yes,
basically, in that way, if they apply, this partnership can grow much faster in reality.
Yeah, I will do. I send them an email, and then I will tell them about the projects.
Yeah, because they can apply and get an Arabic teacher, and then basically their students can get both studying of language over here and communicating with your elementary school in Morocco.
Wonderful, I will do, yeah. I'm going to tell them about the program, and I'll tell them about its objectives, and we will try to make this possible and make this happen, and for the benefit of everyone, of course.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
Thank you, you're welcome.
Fantastic. So I think what we'll do is we have a few more slides talking about different types of exchanges in general, and then we can open it up to more general questions at the end. So this is just a list of some ideas for different types of collaborative projects. This is not this is not an exclusive list. Of course, there are so many ways to be creative. These are just some starting points. In your classes, either in your home schools, in your host schools, you can do all sorts of exchanges like an art and music exchange. Wang Ling, who presented yesterday, incorporated an art exchange into her project. We touched briefly on the idea of a culture box yesterday. Essentially similar to a time capsule, you can create a box with cultural items such as music, magazines, films, really anything that's special to either your country or your city, and you can share that with your partner school. The geography projects and nature projects we'll get to in a moment. But these are some starting points if you're thinking of starting any sort of collaborative project between two classes.
And ladies and gentlemen, you might have seen this slide yesterday. The reason that we are repeating these slides is that sometimes on day 1 and day 2, different alumni participate. And if you have seen these slides, bear with us. From yesterday, if you weren't able to join the conference yesterday and you are able to join it today, this might be something that you might want to think about when you're trying to establish relations between schools.
And we will post the recording later, so you can feel free to access these materials moving forward at any time. So this is kind of a more detailed description of several different group projects you could do in your class, either a collage or a travel brochure. So in these cases, you could be working either in one large group as a whole class, or you could divide your class into smaller groups where students build a collage to represent, either history, geography, nature of, again, either your city or your country. Travel brochures, essentially, you can ask the students to imagine that they're working at a travel agency. They could research different natural landscapes and different tourist opportunities and create some sort of brochure to share with their partner school. And again, these are just some ideas. Really, you can do anything, anything along these lines. Going back to the culture box, these are project ideas if you're interested in sharing materials. So in addition to the box, which we kind of touched on a moment ago, another great idea is to do a holiday or a festival exchange. Especially in the US, the holiday season is coming up very quickly. We just had our Thanksgiving holiday, and we're coming up to Hanukkah and Christmas and several other winter holidays. But it doesn't need to necessarily be in the winter. There are holidays throughout the year, and I know that the spring, there's Easter and Shem Nassim, and of course, Chinese New Year is coming up. So classrooms can share all sorts of information. They can share music, they can share stories, anything related to these sorts of celebrations. And then depending on the age of your students, younger students, you can kind of simplify some of these projects. And with high school students, older students, you can kind of make the assignments a little bit more advanced by incorporating different content areas. And so science, social studies, you could incorporate history. There's really no limit to what you can do. So these are just two ideas, for instance, a geography project or some sort of nature wildlife project, where students can research different geographical aspects of either their city, their state, their country, and they can present these sorts of materials and share about their local environment with their partner school. And similarly, with some sort of wildlife project, that would be focusing more on the flora and fauna. This could incorporate an art element where they're drawing the animals or plants. It could incorporate more biology. There's lots of possibilities when you're working with these sorts of content projects. And similarly with creating books, this can be tailored to any sort of age group. It can either be simplified or it can be a more advanced project. A phrase book is a great way to start. Students can kind of brainstorm what sort of phrases would be useful in their language, and they can share that with their partner classrooms. Or a folklore exchange, sharing any sort of traditional literature, traditional stories. That can be a great way to practice language and learn about the culture at the same time. And when you're thinking about these projects, think about your audience. A sort of basic project, you should kind of plan to approximately spend between 1 to 3 hours a week, and this would be appropriate for really any age group. Again, you can kind of tailor the project depending on the age of your students. Intermediate projects require a little bit more classroom time. You should probably think about budgeting between 1 and 4 hours a week. And these sorts of projects that are more time intensive tend to be better for middle and high school students. And again, for high school students, for older students, another way to bring in some more advanced content is to kind of branch into politics and diplomacy. So one idea is to do some sort of hero or leader discussion where students choose people to represent their country, choose people who represent their country who are viewed as either heroes or some sort of leader, and it could be a current figure or a historical figure. And then using those figures, you can do a workshop brainstorming what makes a good leader, what sort of values do they embody. Thinking about like leadership qualities, this is a great language exercise and also an interesting way to think about culture. And similarly with a diplomacy sort of project, you can think about what diplomacy means, but you can also kind of role play any sort of crisis or any sort of situation where diplomacy is needed. So the students get the chance to kind of act out how they would handle a given situation. And again, this is a great way to bring a collaborative project to your classroom where students get to interact with their peers, they get to practice language, think about culture. It really ties a lot of these elements together into one project. And focusing more on the language aspect itself, there are lots of different language projects. For example, your different schools or your different classrooms can exchange tests and quizzes. So the students themselves can create these sorts of materials and then test to see how well their sister schools scored. Similarly, newspapers, any sort of language material like that. And we also have literature. You know, students can compare either in the target language or in translation, depending on their level. Comparing traditional stories, traditional literature is a great way to learn about the culture. And so to wrap up, we'd just like to remind you all that you can apply for up to $3,000 of critical language project funding to help your homeschool build a sister school project or any sort of exchange project. So it could be a virtual exchange, it could be any sort of collaborative project like we just discussed, or it could be a student exchange where they're traveling. So if you have any questions at this point, we have a few minutes for open discussion. Please feel free to type in the chat window. Can we still apply? So the fall CLP applications have closed, but of course you're very welcome to apply in the upcoming spring round.
And the deadline for the spring round is March 30, folks. It's always November 30, March 30. And you are always eligible to apply. Once an alumni, once a participant of TCLP, as long as the funding is there, you're always eligible to apply.
And I saw a question earlier about, I think this one was more for Guojin. It was about finding and recruiting host families. So Guojin, I don't know if you have any advice on that. Did you encounter, I'll go ahead and unmute you. Did you encounter any challenges when you were looking for host families? How did you go about that?
I think for our school, we have very big school, so there's no problem at all. The only problem is we have too many like students and the families are interested about that. But for the US school, I think we encountered a kind of problems because that school is way much smaller than our school. And especially about for hosting the 7th and eighth graders, it's kind of hard to find host family.
Do you know what did the U.S. host school do to recruit them? How did they go about?
So for last time, some parents, I call that co-host kids. Like some parents, they have to work and I mean in the evening. So other parents will come to take the kids to have this to have some activities. But some parents, they do not have a big bedroom. They cannot give the kids separate bedroom. So anyway, last time a lot of families co-hosted the kids.
And that sometimes happens, which is even nicer because then the kids are seeing two different families. That's a great thing to some degree.
Yeah, I think so. But for next year, the new principals, she's thinking to enlarge. I mean, at the very beginning, they only plan to have the like 7th and 8th graders to host the kids. But last time they say our Chinese kids can get along with like the little assemblies, so they may like enlarge this to the whole school. Like if you don't have the middle schoolers, but if you're interested about that, you still can host the kids. But this is just a very brief idea. I don't know how they will carry it out.
I see. Well, we will live and see, right?
Yeah. But I think because of those two experience and both communities and schools feel the positive impacts for the kids, for the whole communities. So I think right now from both sides, the principals, they will try the best to push this program.
Great, thank you. We had another question, and I think this is a little bit more general, but thinking just more broadly, what were the biggest obstacles in the exchanges? And it could be either this student exchange where they're traveling or in the virtual exchange. What generally were the biggest challenges that you had to overcome?
I think from my experience,
and then we'll hear from
okay.
Rojin, you can go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So it's about the language barriers, and especially for the kids.
So more about the language proficiency?
Yeah, language proficiency, and yeah, that's it.
Great, Abdullah?
Yeah, I think one of the obstacles is time zone conflict. It's a big issue, especially that, for example, my house school is in Sacramento, and it's about like 8 hours difference between Sacramento and Lyon City in Morocco. So it's really hard to have those kinds of online conferences for students. So I will have to sometimes ask teachers here in Morocco to keep students after school, 1 hour, one more extra hour after schools, so that we can be able to hold that meeting.
Yeah, the time zones are certainly a big logistical issue, and it does depend on where the host school is in the US and where your home school is, depending if it's Morocco, Egypt, China. That can definitely be a large difference. Were there any other questions? Well, it looks like that's it for questions. I don't see any others. So with that, oh wait, there we go, one more. Are you going to assign your students as travel ambassadors for the other group who will visit? So Gojin, I think that one's more for you.
Hold on.
Are you planning to assign your students as travel ambassadors?
No, I didn't do that on purpose.
For the future groups, would you be thinking about connecting the ones that are traveling from China to the US with the ones that have already traveled?
I don't think so, because every year I think we may get a different group of kids to travel.
All right.
Zoe?
Did that answer to that question?
Yeah. Well, I just want to add something. I really encourage all teachers to try connecting students. Really, this has a big impact on students and on teachers and all the people, all the school staff, I mean. So really just give it a try. It's really a wonderful experience, and students will always remember that. They will always talk about that. I usually meet parents who usually come to me and they say, we can't thank you enough for giving our students, that opportunity to practice their English, to know more about American students. So their kids, when they go back home and they share these small stories with their families, really it's a big thing. So I just recommend it to everyone to try connecting students through schools if it's possible.
Yeah, we absolutely agree. And the student exchanges, whether they're in person or virtual, it's a really excellent way to kind of make the language learning experience more immersive and more directly relatable to the students.
Correct.
Great. Well, thank you again to our speakers today, Gojin and Abdulela. Your presentations were really excellent examples of how student exchange and collaborative projects can really make an impact. And now we'll go ahead. We have closing remarks from Maxine Petter-Lunn from the U.S. Department of State. And one moment, I'll make sure. Maxine, can you hear us?
Yes.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for such an interesting second day of the virtual Alumni Conference. It's so nice, again, to see so many familiar names and faces. And thanks very much to G and Adela for very, very interesting presentations, proving that the relationships that you establish between yourselves and your schools and your host schools can continue to go on and even expand. And I heard so many things, particularly in Jin's presentation, about relating to things that you learned in the United States about overcoming culture shock that you then were able to apply to your students, which was so exciting for me. I love these stories. They really help cement in my mind the importance of the in-person exchange as well as the ongoing virtual exchange, particularly for the little ones who certainly aren't going to be able to get on a plane and go visit their fellow elementary school students, but perhaps that virtual exchange will spark an interest in them to continue to look outward going forward. The one comment that I want to make regarding Jean's presentation was, I think it makes sense to bring your best students, particularly the ones that you think are going to engage and be able to talk to people, not too shy. But this is, I think, a difference in culture. One of the things I think we would do in the United States is we wouldn't always take the best students. we might take, obviously, the students that are going to, that we don't expect to misbehave, but I think in our culture, we might try to push students that are not likely to have this experience otherwise, who might not have the best grades, but have shown some promise in some other way. And I would bet that that's something, as well as obviously finances, that may have played into the suitor selection of students. But I think right there, you just see a little bit of a difference in culture, not that one is better than the other, but how we might go at it a little bit differently. But these are the things that we learn in continuing these relationships between ourselves, between our classes, between our countries. It's very, very important. And I'm just so pleased to have been able to listen in and to see the engagement of people who came on program even before I was working with TCLP. I saw some names from quite several years ago. So anyway, congratulations, and thank you so much to Zoe and Zara and everyone at American Councils for continuing to run this program at such a high level of professionalism, and really taking advantage of every opportunity to continue the conversation with people, both before they come, while they're on program, and very importantly, after they leave.
Thank you so much, Maxine, for those remarks, and thank you again to the Department of State for supporting this program. It wouldn't be possible without that support. So with that concludes today, but before everyone signs off, I have one quick thing to ask. We would like to get a photo of everyone who joined us today for day 2. So I'm gonna end the screen share, and if everyone can just turn their cameras on so we can get a nice group photo of everyone together. That would be fantastic. Yeah. All right, I still see a few people who don't have their cameras on. If as many people as possible can join, we would love to get a group photo together.
And we also want to see your faces. Do you know how much we miss you guys?
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see your faces. We'll just give it another moment in case anyone else would like to join for the photo.
Please, please, please turn on the cameras. We want to see you guys.
Okay, are we ready? All right, 3, 2, 1, cheese.
Please, 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 if you have the camera, turn it on. I can see all the faces from 2011 all the way to 2019. So great. Every single one of you guys, it's amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. And so again, so good to see all the familiar faces. I wish there was a way to see you all in person, but this is also great.
Fantastic. Did you get it? Great. Well, thank you everyone so much for attending day 2 of the conference. It was wonderful to see and hear from all of you. The video recording will be posted shortly, so all the materials will be available for you to reference moving forward. And please reach out to us if you have any questions. Thank you again for joining.
One last thing, guys. If you want to establish business schools and don't know how to do it because your host school is not interested, let us know. We can connect you with other schools.
That's an excellent point. Yes, thank you. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day or night. See you next time.